My name's JD. People call me Brother JD. Everybody calls me JD. And the business is El Ray's Garage. El Ray's. It started in my backyard as a place. It's just a place for expression, art, music, style, cars, bikes. What kind of project do we specialize in? Well, we specialize in bringing old cars back from the dead, bringing them back to life. That's what I enjoy the most. Just old cars that have been sitting for a while, that somebody wants to get rid of, abandoned, projects left for dead. I like to come along, get them cheap, and make them run. Then make them pretty, drop them, paint them, interior work, dual exhaust, make them sound good, look nasty, and that's it, man. That's what I like to do. Now, this is a 1951 Chevrolet Deluxe Business Coupe. Not to be confused with a Bel Air from 51. This car's name is Betty. This car's name is Betty. There you go. We know the car's name is Betty because we started fooling with her. My wife was helping me out with it, and I had a vision for it. And my wife said, you know what? This car reminds me of an old movie star. Has had her time, but she's a little weathered, but she's still beautiful underneath. Let's bring, we're bringing it back to life. Let's give her like an old 50s name, And I said, all right. So she came up with it. She said, let's call her Betty. I said, I like Betty. Betty it is. When I first saw the car, it's beat up, sitting on a trailer. Tires flat, glass broke, not running for who knows how many years, many, many years. So I look at it. First of all, it's got to have the right lines for me. If it doesn't have the right lines, I don't want to fool with it. But this thing, when I saw it, it's like, this car's got beautiful lines or something to it, right? I think Betty's unique place in car culture is that this is a business coupe. So back in the day, it was probably like the young, up-and-coming guy's car, not too pricey. It wasn't a Cadillac. Not a Pontiac or an old Chevrolet. Chevrolet is bottom of the line of GM back then. And so this is like the working man's car, but a business coupe, probably not the family guy. This is probably like the young, the cat. He's coming up the ladder. Maybe that's what this is, That's old Betty. And I like this hood ornament, that's 1 year only, It's they say that's a Gazelle, not an Impala. I don't know, man. I'm learning about these things. They like I was saying, these wraparounds and these bumper guards, these are accessories. So back in the day, this car, these accessories were like when you go buy a car today and you say, oh man, I want the ST package. It's got an extra, cool steering wheel. It's got extra speakers and it sits a little lower. And it's got a little bit powerful motor. Well, this thing was optioned like that. It was like somebody spent a little money to get the extras, so it's kind of cool. Well, the personality now, see, Betty's got these old gangster white walls on it, blacked out wheels and spider caps. It just makes the wheels pop a little, but kind of an old school, The round lines, it's got nice body lines. The beautiful thing about Betty, it's a two-door coupe, man. It's got this nice body. It's not, for me, four doors are out. I don't like four doors. Some people like four doors. Four doors kind of popular. Yeah, my wife, she's like, dude, I think we ought to leave these colors. And I don't usually leave these ugly old colors. But then you start looking at it, hey, it took 63 years to make these colors. Whoever designed this thing, this was done with pencil and pen, with clay. Man, there wasn't no computer, Somebody, look at that. That's cool, So this thing has some pretty lines, and it's got all these old cool parts that are still with it, that's never been hit. Pretty magical. So I consider all this art, man. Every little bit of it. Cars, the bikes, the trucks, the music, the style. It's all expression. Everybody's got their thing, So it's all expression. It's all art. All of it. I'm kind of a hack. I admit it. I like things a little dirty, a little crude. Some dudes like things really pretty, like perfectly. There's A-type personalities out there, which is not me. I'm more way, artsy-fartsy. I like things kind of off. I like things a little twisted. I like things not perfect. I say always, car definitely has personality, man. The way it makes you feel when you get inside is kind of, you're rolling with the personality. So say you get in your Prius, nothing against Prius, say you get in your Prius. I'm saving energy today. You see what I'm saying? Or maybe you get in your BMW, I got money and I'm flying. This thing, you're like, I'm in my 51 and I'm chilling. Check it out. anytime you get your hands dirty on a project, be it a motorcycle, a truck, whatever it may be, you got your hands involved in it, but you also got your mind involved with it. Like, how you gonna take care of these problems that you run into? You know, the fabrication of pieces fitting and stuff. You know, bleeding on the car, bleeding on it when you're working on it, busting your knuckles, whatever. You know, your mind goes into it, your thoughts go into it, and your hands go on it. So when it's all assembled, you've been there. You know everything. The motorcycle that I rode in on today, you know, I know every nut and bolt on that bike. Nobody's touched it but me. Nobody. So when I ride that thing, it's me and that bike. That's a good friend of mine. And I trust her to get me from here and there, and she knows I'm not gonna lay her down, you know, and get it hurt, you know. So it's a trippy thing. But yeah, like this car right here, I'm still getting to know her, you know. She's never let me down yet. She's taken me some places already, and I just finished it. And so yeah, man, they all have their own definite personalities.
I don't do this for the money. I do it because I love it. I have a passion for it. And I just picked up a brush one day and I was hooked. I was hooked from the first time. I absolutely believe it's an art form. I've seen so many people that think they can do it, and they'll go out and they'll buy the brushes and that, and they just can't do it. I pinstripe every night, whether it's on a car or on an art panel, dishes, whatever. I'm always practicing. My name's Andy Kawahara, and I'm a pinstriping artist. I like pinstriping because it's organic. It's an actual art form. It's something you can't just program into a computer and have it cut out a pattern for you. You have to sit and think about it, and it takes skill. I think that's the biggest thing, is like the art itself. I think in general, most of the old-time pinstripers really support the young guys. When I was first starting out, I had some of the pinstriping masters that were like my biggest fans, you know, pats on the back, good job. And it's important to be supportive of the new artists, because I don't want to see this art form die completely. I'd like to keep it alive. The vinyl industry has killed business for sign painters, pinstripers. Every ad that you see now, you know, billboards were hand painted 10 years ago, 20 years ago, you know, and now it's all vinyl. Like there was a huge industry for sign painting in and of itself. Every storefront window, you know, everything was painted. There's still a few hardcore followers of like the pinstriping artists and the sign painters that want it still done by hand. So, you know, if you're talking to like an old-time hot rodder, they've got nothing but the utmost respect for you, because it is so hard to find a pinstriper. If you're talking to anybody from the new generation, most of them kind of give you that like quizzical look and ask, what's pinstriping? You know, during the like whole custom car movement of the late 50s and early 60s, if you built a hot rod, it had stripes on it. Like that was one of the things that it had, you know. And I think people slowly moved away from that. They started going to like a more clean design, you know, everything shaved, one color, monochromatic paint schemes, and anybody that like stayed true to the custom still used it, but it definitely died out. I had art classes from the time I was in kindergarten all the way up through college, and the college classes kind of covered the pinstriping, because it's an actual American art form. It was born here in the States and it's spread worldwide. I'd just like to tell anybody that's interested in it to try it. It's not as intimidating as it seems. If you're a creative person and you take pride in your work, pinstriping might be for you.
My name's Ben Thomas. I'm a mechanic, and I run a company called Rancho Deluxe, which is basically a workshop that specialises in early hot rods, flathead powered Fords, and yeah, mainly Fords up to sort of 1950 or so. This is a 1932 Ford Roadster, and also called a B model. It's the first of the V8 powered Fords. So Ford was the first to introduce a mass-produced V8 car, and for that reason they're pretty cherished because they were the first of their kind. Through my father sort of got me into cars by, you know, probably when I was a young teenager. We did up a couple of cars together, and he's always been interested in racing cars, and yeah, I followed him into that, and he organised an apprenticeship for me when I was 18. So I worked for Porsche for 4 years, and yeah, after that continued working on cars on and off. Didn't stick in the industry for very long, but came back to it sort of later in my 30s, and yeah, found a passion for these vintage Fords, and they're now what I do all the time. I guess I was always working with, I was always building things as a kid, and, you know, mucking around with BMXs and that sort of stuff, and you just step up from there. I always liked mechanical things and working with my hands, so that's why I headed down this path. The cars that I really focus on are 1930 to 1940 Fords. That era, that sort of pre-war and post-war era, is when I guess the American economy was booming the most, and they built a lot of cars that I don't know, I've got some sort of connection to. So everything from the A models of 1928 to 31 and through to these 1932 Fords and later ones as well. So I found this car in a million pieces all over the country. The chassis comes from Western Australia, the body came from South Australia, the suspension and a lot of the running gear came from a car I bought from Queensland. So it's a slow process of piecing together and buying things when they become available. The basics of it started about 4 or 5 years ago with the chassis. The final build I did most of it in 2008, and probably took about 6 months of my time, full time, to build the car once I had the body in place. I guess going back to an era with a car it's about emotion, it's about nostalgia, and it's about creating something that when you drive it, it's an accurate expression of what it felt like to exist in those times. So for me, when I drive that car, I feel like I'm actually driving down a road in 1948, and the car's, you know, a conduit that lets you do that, because it gives you all the feedback that a car from that era would. It's not, you know, it's not modernised. It's, you know, it bangs and crashes and rattles and makes lots of noise, and you know, it gives you a lot of feedback, and the emotion you get from having an experience that's not modern in any way is just, you know, that's what I'm looking for. It's surprisingly fast. It's for an engine that was built in 1939 and isn't a long way from stock. I mean, a lot of that comes from the lightness of it. It's obviously a very simple and light car. It doesn't have fenders or bumpers or a lot of heavy accoutrements on it that would slow it down. So it's pretty nimble, and it's certainly easy to drive and keeps up with modern traffic. Yeah, it's not a hot rod in the way a lot of people think of them as being a high horsepower drag car sort of thing. It's on a whole nother level to that. This car behind me is a 1933 Ford pickup truck that was built by a guy in Southern California in about 1954, a guy called Larry Monreal, and he put this truck together to tow his race cars with, and yeah, it's basically existed in the same form since then. It's been a bit neglected, but has remained as it was built then, still with the same paint and all the original parts on it. So my job with this is just to basically get it back to a roadworthy state and make it a safe drivable car for the new owner, and yeah, just remain true to what it was back in 1954. I find, well, in terms of the automotive world today, I really can't comment on it because I don't feel a part of it. I've worked on modern cars when I was an apprentice, but after that I really just kept going further and further backwards. I've started working on 60s cars and then went back to these old things, and maybe when I'm an old man I'll be restoring Edwardian Rolls Royces or something.
It's been 12 years in the making that I've wanted one of these. I decided back in October of last year that I was finally ready to take the plunge and find one. And all the pieces, I gotta say, just fell into place. I mean, it's been really a dream come true. It's a little bit of a mix between, disbelief that, wow, finally, I got it. And at the same time, it's just so happy. I mean, I was asking my friends the other day, I'm like, what's the opposite of buyer's remorse? I mean, this thing is amazing. It sounds like everything I wanted it to sound like. It looks amazing. I love it to pieces. It's definitely wherever I go, someone has something to say about it. It gets the attention. People are excited by it. They want to know about it. I've had people ask me to give them a ride in it, which I'm more than willing to do. At the end of the day, because this car makes me so happy, I want to share it with other people. I don't want to keep it to myself, and I don't want to store it away and only take it out, once a month or once a 6 months, or when the stars are in the right alignment. I mean, this car is amazing, but I bought it to drive it. I bought it to enjoy it. I bought it so it's out there and people see it. And then I think that's the best thing I can do with it. I've been teaching at Art Center for about 6.5 years now. I used to be here a student myself. I'm actually one of the instructors in the transportation design program. And I usually get sophomores or junior level students. What I do is I teach them advanced 3D modeling. So the kind of 3D modeling skills they would need to basically get a starting job in the car design industry. Of course, the way the car looks, is part of the reason why it appeals to me. It's what I do on a day-to-day basis. I sit there and I make car bodies. So of course, that's the big thing that I'm looking at when I'm looking at this car. So it's pretty good. It's the shape, it's the sound, it's the history of the brand, it's the history of the specific model. It's just everything combining together. It's a little embarrassing, to be honest. But it really is just perfect in every way that I can't help but, be giddy about it.